Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Steve.
We're a recently retired couple who loves to travel.
So we flew. Portugal has a history of being a country of explorers. During the Age of Discovery, Portuguese sailors sailed to Africa, Asia, Canada, Brazil, all over.
Much of the exploration was motivated by finding trade routes, gaining wealth for the nobility, and spreading Christianity. Portuguese sailors also explored the Azores, Cape Verde, India, Madagascar, Malaysia, Burma, Sumatra, and even as far north as Japan.
The Monument of the Discovery celebrates these Portuguese explorers. It was created for the 1940 Portuguese World Exhibition. The city is an excellent example of medieval construction. Many of the streets are still cobbled, some of the walls around the city are intact, and much of the architecture screams out for picture taking. Much of the city was funded through their Age of Discovery.
We visited Santa Maria Maior, which is in the historic district of Lisbon, centered around the city's oldest church, the Lisbon Cathedral. Several of the cathedrals we visited have had small museums. This one included some of the vestments worn by the clergy. The architecture of this cathedral was beautiful, but it didn't have as many stained glass windows or works of art as we've seen in other churches. This cathedral was built around 1147 and has been modified, renovated, and restored several times, resulting in a mix of architectural styles. It is still used as a cathedral today, but doubles as a national monument for Portugal.
The Praia de Comércio, or Port of Commerce, is a huge square by the water that has shops and restaurants around the perimeter. Most European cities we've been to have squares throughout the city. They usually have a few cafes and shops and maybe a fountain or statue in the center. They're a great place for residents and visitors to meet up for a coffee or a drink or a meal. The size of this square, though, in Lisbon was amazing. It's the largest square we'd seen so far. It began as a shipping port in the 1500s as the Age of Discovery was in full activity. It served as a port, but also today it houses a number of government offices as well as all the shops and restaurants. We also visited the Castle of St. George, or St. George's Castle. As we were walking there, we stopped at a small church, the Holy Cross of St. George, of the Castle of St. George. We stopped in and grabbed a few pictures. Even the small churches have beautiful artwork. It was built soon after the Christians retook Lisbon from the Moors in 1147, becoming Lisbon's first church since it was finished before the cathedral. It was built where a mosque had once stood. It was completely destroyed in an earthquake in 1755, but painstakingly rebuilt to its original shape. However, the city was in dire need of building supplies after the earthquake, so the building was greatly simplified from its earlier beginnings. Back to St. George's Castle, people lived on the hill since the 8th century BC. The oldest part of the fortifications date back to the 2nd century BC. The Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Romans, and Moors all held this and governed the region from this fortress until the Portuguese finally conquered it in 1147 after a 4-month siege. It was easy to imagine soldiers roaming this castle, leading their horses to the water trough and defending Lisbon from invaders. We could walk on the castle walls, see the gardens, and where the moat used to be, as well as get great views of the surrounding area.
Another stunning building in Lisbon is the National Palace of Sintra, with its tile work on the walls, especially the blue and white tiles. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and dates back to the early 1400s, though some traces date back even further to the Moorish occupation. It was lavishly and lovingly decorated. For example, the Swan Room has a number of painted swans on the ceiling, supposedly honoring Queen Felipa's noble heritage. Another ceiling that was amazing and has a story behind it is in the Magpie Room. This ceiling features 136 magpies, each holding a rose in their claws and a banner which reads, "Por Ben," or for good. The story is linked to King John I and his wife, Queen Philippa of Lancaster. King John I was caught kissing a lady in waiting, and to defend himself and silence the gossip, He claimed the kiss was pour bien, or for good. He had the ceiling painted with magpies, one for each lady at court, symbolizing the chatter of their gossiping, the roses in the magpie's claws alluding to Queen Philippa's English House of Lancaster. Another thing we noticed there were the stonemason marks. Stonemasons put marks on their stones that they cut in order to get credit and get paid for their work. Some of these stones with stonemason's mark can still be seen in the building. Their work is immortalized for all time. The palace also had 2 kitchens, incredibly large rooms, each with a wall of ovens and cooking stoves and 2 enormous chimneys that taper as they rise. The story is told that the king had 2 kitchens and chimneys built to display his incredible wealth. You would have to be incredibly wealthy to have 2 kitchens of this size.
One of the dishes famous in Lisbon is salted cod, which is cod buried in a bed of rock salt and cooked. The salt helps to keep the fish moist, and when the skin is removed, it isn't salty. We had a delightful meal, and the cook brought out the cod and demonstrated how to remove it from the salt and serve it. We wondered whether it would be salty to taste, but it wasn't. The cook came out to carve and plate the fish for us, and so we got to share this part of the preparation with you. We really didn't know much about Portugal when we planned this trip, and while we certainly knew they were involved in the age of discovery, we were surprised by the breadth of their travels and the riches they had obtained during this period, and the grandeur of the palaces and churches that date back to that period. If Portugal isn't on your bucket list, it should be, and hopefully we've shared some of the best places to see and whet your travel bug to get you to come and see Portugal.
Please, if you like this video, like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, please feel free to share them with us. And as always, safe travels.